Call to order for City of Cannon Falls City Council meeting Tuesday, June 17th. If I could get a roll call, please.
Diane Johnson. Here. Zimmerman. Here. Chad Johnson.
Here.
Jefferson.
Here.
Nova. Here. Cronenberger.
Here.
Montgomery.
Here. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If I could get a motion to approve of tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Motion from Jefferson,
Second.
second from Lisa. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Gets us to public input. For those of you that are going to speak tonight, if you're not familiar with this, public input, there is no Q&A. You are free to say what you need for 3 minutes. We will address your concerns later in the meeting when we do Around the Horn. We'll have some department heads explain the water billing process. Okay? So, public input is intended to afford the public an opportunity to address concerns to the City Council. The public input will be no longer than 30 minutes in total length, and each speaker will have no more than 3 minutes to speak. Speakers may address topics relevant to the governance of the city. Speakers must sign up in advance, must provide their name, address, and the topic they intend to address. Comments must be on topic, respectful, pertinent to city business, and adhere to the applicable data privacy rules. Any speaker that violates these rules will be asked to sit down. If the speaker refuses to comply, they may be removed from the meeting. Speakers shall not address topics that are the subject of a public hearing. All such comments shall be made at the public hearing. The City Council will not generally act on issues raised by the public input, but may choose to schedule consideration of the item on a future agenda. Up first, Joe Gurton, water billing.
Joe Gurton, 1221 6th Street North. I guess after further examination and speaking with a few council members, my biggest concern is that it appears that we were billed for 5 weeks, a longer period of time due to what it sounds like someone, can't remember which one of them told me, but there was a problem with the reading equipment. Anyway, if that's the case, because it's not a linear billing, like you pay more the more you use, then that needs to be corrected. And then also, I viewed an email that was sent to another resident that shows much more data than anyone else claimed to be able to receive off of a water meter. I mean, down to like the minute it was being used. So why are we not being billed for actual usage and in a tiered system? That's my other point. You know, if I'm only using 130, just for an example, if I'm using 130 gallons, why are we not being billed for 130 gallons instead of you used 100 units, 200 units, 300 units? That doesn't seem logical to me if we have the technology to further break that down. So, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, I'm having a hard time with this one. Is it Carl Bischoff?
Yeah.
I'm here for something. I know. Got the name right though?
Yes, yep. I was just told I was supposed to come here to get permission to put up a handicap parking sign. I called City Hall just to make sure that it was okay. I put one up, and they said I should come to this meeting. So.
Okay. So like I said, public input is usually a time where somebody gets to come up and bring up an issue. If you're asking for a handicap permit sign, we can probably talk about that after the meeting. Is that a public works issue? Or is that?
This is the first time I'm here.
Okay.
So I'm sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Carl, we were just hoping to put one up on the street right in front of a residential group home here in town.
Gotcha.
We've got a resident who's got Down syndrome and really should be getting off his bus right in front of the sidewalk. And so the program director asked if I could put up a sign, but then before putting up a sign right next to the city street, I thought I should just check with you guys. So
we will do our best to take care of you here as soon as
okay,
this meeting
sounds
adjourns.
good. Thanks.
Thank you, Carl. Next up, Sadie, is it Simmons or Simons?
Simmons.
Simmons, water bill.
I'll keep this fairly short. I think I reached out to most of the folks in this room via email. I'm here as a concerned resident. I had an increase of 122% in my May utility water bill, a jump from 57%, which is my 9-month average, solely due to watering my garden, a practice that I've done for 7 years, and I've never seen this level of increase in my water bill. I followed the same exact process as I do every single year. I call City Hall in April. I let whoever answers the phone know that I am starting to water my garden and could a note please be put on my address. That's always been done without being told anything different until this year. I was told that the 6-month average would automatically be used to protect residents from inflated sewer fees during seasonal watering. But my bill still went up 122%. I think this unexpected bill increase and lack of clear communication around a policy change, whether that be a policy change or just inconsistent application of whatever policy already exists, we deserve some transparency as residents in those practices. I hadn't heard of the 5-week deal versus a 4-week deal until one council member shared that with me, I think a day and a half ago or something like that. So whether that play a role in my 122% increase, I'm sure it does. But needless to say, I didn't know that it was a 5-week cycle instead of a 4-week cycle, or whatever the natural cycle is. That wasn't shared with residents either. That's my concern. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that gets us to tonight's consent agenda. Consent agenda items may be adopted under one motion as presented or may be removed for discussion and resolution as council business. I'll go through them. Item A, just and correct claims, accounting period ending June 11th, 2025. B, meeting minutes for June 3rd, 2025, city council meeting. Item C, approve a final pay request for John Birch Park. Item D, approve police officer resignation, police officer promotion, and fill the part-time position. Item E, approve Prairie Island Police Services Agreement. Item F, approve part-time police officer pay adjustment. Item G, approve hiring of seasonal part-time public works employees. Item H, approve stump grinding quote. Item I, approve 2025 street maintenance quote. Item J, resolution 2815 relating to the conveyance of tax forfeited property. Item K, approve hiring of Izzy Carlson for the license and permit technician position. And item A, resolution 2816 accepting a monetary donation of $8,108.06 from Goodhue County Emergency Worker Decon to the fire department. Is there anything the council would like to pull down?
E,
Item E,
Prairie Island.
Prairie Island Service Agreement will be moved to council business as item A. Anything else? I would accept a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
So
Motion from Chris,
Second.
second from Lisa. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Gets us down to council business. So what was item E is now A, approve Prairie Island Police Services Agreement. Diane?
In reading the document, I noticed that the assurance that our insurance policy would be covering it was from 2020. Things change in 5 years, and so I would appreciate it if we would have an updated okay with our insurance company for this kind of agreement. And had this gone to police commission, I'm assuming the police commission should have compared the contracted police services agreement that was supposedly approved back in 2020 with this one proposed with Prairie Island. And I guess I would feel more comfortable if the police commission did review this before we consider it. Would ask that it be tabled and sent back to the commission for review before we consider this.
So this actually has been through that process, was to this body back in 2020. Because of where we were staffing wise, it was just never moved forward. The body was told that should we get to that point, we would bring it back to this body. The insurance hasn't changed within what we get from the league. I certainly can verify that again with them. But the league's coverage has remained consistent. not just in the last 5 years, but in the last 17 years. So whatever this body wants to do. I just made sure that, when we did this, the council was very adamant that prior to entering into that, it would come back to the council because the contracted services agreement would be different than what is utilized for our standard ones. For like most recent usage would have been track for their one of their meetings. This is an agreement with the Prairie Island tribal community. So it's already been reviewed 5 years ago by the city attorney. It was sent to Shelley for review just to make sure that nothing had changed relative to applicable statutes or anything, and she approved it. That's why it was brought to the body.
So there have been no major changes, and when I was looking through there, it got delayed due to COVID, am I correct?
Well, COVID shut the whole process down, but we didn't agree to do anything just because we lost 4 of our officers.
Right, that's
And then we were in process of training them. We lost 4 more of our officers. We were in process of training them. We're finally back to that point where we would be able to do it. And they made the request probably about a month ago now. Just wondering if any officers would be available. I don't know where their staffing is, but when they have these events, what they're primarily looking for is traffic control. And we, of course, would be billing them at a different rate than we bill out on the contracted services because for contracted services, we send the officer with a squad car, but the officer is parking the car. The car would probably be running for the entire time, so we would be charging them for that usage.
Shelley, I understand Diane's concern with the 5-year delay. Do you see any legal reason of pushing it back to police commission before it has to come back to council in that time lapse?
I reviewed the status of the contract as it is today. I did not do a comparative between the prior version and this version. What I saw today would be consistent with statutes and what you're allowed to do. It's a policy matter as to whether or not you agree with the terms of it.
And there was no difference. It was actually that version. The only thing that the Prairie Island said was change the dates.
All right, so the request from Prairie Island is the same. Any other discussion from council?
I would still like to see it go back to the police commission.
Right, but we are a council, we are an
I
entire
know,
body, so I'm
but
asking the
we
rest of
should-
the council if they see things the way you do and they'd like to move it back, or if they'd like to vote on it tonight. So if there is any other questions, comments, concerns from the council time.
Can we vote on it under the assumption that chief will make sure that the insurance is good, I guess?
Yeah. I certainly can check with the league's legal again. They've got attorneys that do just that within their legal division. But from the 2020 discussions, the primary concern was, would we have liability that, isn't covered by the league? And the league came back and said, no, everything's covered. We cover this, any type of activity that not just our department, but any of the city's departments engage in are, covered under those policies.
All right, with that said, I would entertain a motion to approve what was item E, now item A, approve the Prairie Island Police Services Agreement.
Make a motion.
Motion from Chad. Is there no second?
Can I second with the understanding chief will go get new insurance information?
Absolutely.
That would be my contingency, and I would second that.
All right. So there's been a motion from Chad, second from Chris, with the contingent that the chief will double check the insurance. With that said, we can take a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Passes 5-1. All right, that gets us to our around the horn time.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Clarification. Councilors, do you want me to send an email or anything so that you're aware of the outcome? Do you want me to inform John? How do you want me to proceed on verify the insurance?
You just inform John.
Okay, thank you.
That's John.
All right.
Maggie's not here for the chamber, the EDA, June 5th. Laura.
At our EDA meeting, we actually approved a couple different purchase agreements, which fulfilled the 29th lot. So we are fully under contract for all of phase 1. So that's exciting. We are working on, we'll be bringing WHKS, Darren and his team are all working on the construction plans for the finals, so we'll be bringing those hopefully in the next, I'm not sure, I think end of July maybe. I know that's ambitious, but Jesse said it might be done. So anyway, so that's what we've got going. I'm trying to see if there's anything else that I have to share with you. Let's see. I don't think there's anything else really. No, I think that's it.
All right. Planning Commission met on June 9th.
Yeah, and we did not have a quorum, so it was just an informal meeting.
Work session.
Kind of work session. We talked about gravel driveways, track development, and vacating or unvacating alleys.
All right. Public Works, Park Board, June 12th. Jed, you just want to take that?
Yeah, everything that we talked about
Consent
is on the
agenda.
consent agenda. Is there any specific questions you want me to address, or
No, there's John Birch Park, ready to go.
ready to go?
That's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, let's start there around the horn. If there's anything else, Jed, if you would like to talk about water billing in any way, shape, or form, now would be a fine time for that.
So I can address like the meters side of it. I'm more of the hardware side rather than the
Perfect.
the billing side of things. Joe and I did talk last week, and maybe I didn't clarify well enough. So we read once a month. We don't have the ability to do a constant reading. So we send one of the water guys around, and they have to drive down like all the streets. They pull in all the information once a month. The antenna to our reader broke. It had a bad wire, and so when he tried to read, he was getting less than a quarter of all the reads to come in. And so we reached out to our vendor to get us a new antenna. They sent us the wrong antenna, so then we took it into our own hands, repaired it, and was able to read it. And that's why the billing was done about 5 days later than it should have. As far as like the detailed metering of like a minute to minute, if a resident gets their bill and they feel like they have like more water usage than normal, we can do a data logger where one of my water guys can go out and they can pull all the information off that meter, and it'll give a detailed history back so far. I think it's a month or two of all water usage down to either the minute or the hour. So there is that ability, but we have to send an operator out to do individual data logging per meter. So we can't just pull them all in and have an extensive history on every single meter. It just gives us the final, monthly reading.
So if I could
Absolutely.
add to that, so what was referenced in the public comment is I was the one that reviewed that data. It is by the hour, and it went back I think into March. So it does sustain 3 or 4 months of data by the hour for the amount of water that went through the meter. What the challenge is yes, we can pull that data, but it is labor intensive in order to do that. So it's not conducive to then go back into billing from that data set. It took me hours just to work with the data set as it was received for me to be able to navigate it and kind of document for the individual what was happening with the consumption of water at the property through that meter. So yes, it can be done. It isn't necessarily the function that we're going to use for the systems that we have to bill that water back. So we are billing for the actual use, but we're rounding to 100. So it is kind of pretty one side or another. If you fall on that other side of the 100, then yeah, your bill goes up. It's that way, but over the long haul, there's effective, kind of average of it's going to balance out for you. You may have 290 CF one month and 301 the next month. Yeah, well, that's the 301 kind of hertz, but you were just under before. So there's lots of other factors I can go into a little bit later, but I just definitely wanted to touch on the data logging side. There are technology out there for meters and systems that do have a different outlook in terms of what you can see and bill. It can be on demand. It can be everything remote coming back to here. That's huge investment in upgrade for the system. So it would require server upgrades on in-house to bring in the data to be able to run that system, as well as every meter needs to get upgraded to that, as well as infrastructure in the community to be able to pull and deliver back that data back to us. So that is not something that we would take lightly in terms of making a decision to do. It certainly is out there. I was part of the community where we did upgrade most of our meters. We had about a third of them done to that system, and then took about 3 to 5 years to finish the rest at hundreds of thousands of dollars of investment.
And that's just to get the accurate down to
That's
the
just to
gallons.
go, that's just to go to the meter system that will tell you, basically up to the kind of minute, like how much water is going through that system, because it's sending that information out to towers or antenna in the network. Then that information is then coming back to the city, to wherever the central server is. For us, it was at city. So, there was huge investments that needed to be made, plans that need to be made in order to accommodate that and do that. Our system, as it is today, can't.
And there was the other part of the question was not necessarily minute by minute, hour by hour, whatever, but we go and our bills 100, 200, 300, 400. Can they be broken down more finely than that, or is that again a limitation of our system?
That's a question I don't have an answer to. I don't know. I've looked into a lot, but the what we can parse down in terms of.
Why do we do a tiered system?
The tiered system is there. It's actually a state mandate that cities that are providing water have a increasing rate for their water consumption to help encourage people to conserve water.
So if you hit 401, you now pay the $13.75.
So so there's
seems unfair.
so there's the increase on the.
That's just on that tier though.
No, you retroactively go,
So-
you pay the whole.
Yeah,
amount,
so there is
The
a
issue isn't with the water, it's with the sewer. Most people's issue is with the sewer usage.
And
The sewer's being paid twice as much too.
this because the operations of the sewer system and the plant are more expensive, because we do have a treatment plant for sewer. We don't have a treatment plant for water. So the cost to operate that side of the system is more expensive. And so in terms of the way the rate is, was approved and implemented, your base charge for sewer accounts for your first 300 cubic feet of consumption. So it is $33.68 right now. Once you hit 400 cubic feet of consumption, then the rate converts from the base charge to $11.76 per 100 cubic feet. So that if you're doing the math in your head, 33.68 is not 3 times 11.76. It's a little less than that. So there is a part of that structure that's different. So and it is different in my experiences that your base charge accounts for consumption versus setting a base charge and then setting a consumption charge. My previous community, we had 2 different charges. You have that on the water side. You have a base water that you pay fixed regardless if you use water or not, and then you pay for the water used. On the sewer side, it's that base factors in up to 300 cubic feet of water use. But you could use 0 and still pay $33.60.
What about like her? She said she tried calling in. They used to give a permit to go up as much as it did. That doesn't seem right.
No, that we've looked into that, and in my evaluation of it and the staff that have reviewed it, this system and this policy and the structure for the summer sewer credit hasn't changed in how it's been implemented. And the fact that they've called before
That's all true.
and we're told that it was there is based on what staff has reported to me, that nothing changes on their bill. It just, the system goes on May, for the May billing cycle.
Because we have the extra 5 to 7 days, whatever that be, it bumps people into the higher tier for the water usage. Would that be a higher tier for like the sewer usage? So now they're paying all of that at a higher rate?
That would only have had an impact if in those extra days they crossed over from 300 to 4, in the 300 range of CF to 400 range of CF. That would be the only difference in which, on the sewer side, that would have impacted. Because once they're, I would disagree based on the average consumption for residential households. The average for the whole, a residential property is over 400 CF. My family of 4, equivalent to 800 CF, and where I like that 400 is a very small amount of water.
I don't know if we're technically allowed to speak right now, but we posted this on the City of Cannon Falls forum, which I'm sure you all absolutely hate, which I understand. But within like an hour of it being posted, there were over 24 people expressing this exact same issue that they've never experienced before. So whether you want to take my 7 years of living there into account or not, there's dozens of residents.
It's a little unfortunate that more of them didn't show up. I understand people have busy lives, but yeah, like Sadie said, there was over 20 other people that said, my water bill was the highest it's ever been this month.
All right. Can we put a pause on this? And we've tried to explain the billing cycle and how it is. We will take a deeper look or evaluate people's bills to see if these claims are accurate, or I do understand people's concern that they think it's spiked. We will continue to look into it. If it had to do with the extra few days of metering or due to the antenna, we will try to control this issue. However, I think we've done a good job tonight to at least explain how we bill, why it is that way with our software, with our programming. That, I understand, Chad, when you say, well, that's unfair. It's like, but for most people, it's like their monthly usage, they fit into this category, and then every once in a while you bump up, and then it goes up. I know that's how it is in my household. A lot of the time it's this, and then it goes up one, then it usually goes back down. Especially spring, water usage. Sewer should cost more because of our water treatment facility, because of the cost of operation, the cost of that operating and that machinery, and the people's time that work in public works, that does not go down. So let's just put a pause in this for now. This was not on our agenda. We're doing this just out of the kindness of our hearts. We're taking extra time. We were in Around the Horn. Jed was the one that started it off, so let's go to anything with the library.
Can I get one more? Just on a positive note.
Okay.
They're going to get, the next bill will be shorter because of this one being longer.
Yeah, the billing cycle, we try based on just operationally, we try to bill as close to the end of the month as we can.
They had issues.
Yeah, so it delayed, so we're still billing at the end of this month, so that readings will go out, and that will be a part of your.
Just wanted to at least put a positive.
All right. Thank you, Chad. Nicole.
There's really not much new going on in the library. We've got great programs. Summer reading is barely still going on. It's going to be going until mid-August. We're getting a lot of people signing up, and we have very cool gift baskets that people can enter raffles to try to win for all ages. There are 2 specifically that are only for teens, and then there are 3 for teens and adults, and then there are like 6 for kids. So please just come to the library, see what we've got. It's fun. And I'm sorry, I was out last week. Yesterday and today I've been catching up on email.
There you go.
So.
All right. Enjoy the library. Laura, anything else you'd like to add? All right. Thank you. Chief.
So the Police Commission met on June 12th, but the agenda was in front of you this evening. We are gearing up for the fair, and I'll talk more about that at the next meeting, just because it's proximity.
Perfect. Darren, anything from WHKS?
Just that we're trying to wrap up projects from last year and working
working on the studies and plans for this year.
Shelley? All right, John, anything else?
Couple things. One quick one to point out, in the upcoming meeting schedule, Planning Commission is a change of date that is pushed back to July 21st. We do have our first meeting with the township to discuss annexation tomorrow. We have members of the township board, their attorney, the mayor and I, and others are, Shelley and Laura, I believe, are going to try to attend from the city's perspective to kind of work through that, but we're hopeful and optimistic that we can come to what's called an orderly annexation agreement, or OAA, that can be approved through a joint resolution by both our council and the board to effectively initiate that annexation process for the project we talked about tonight. Thank you very much for approving the new hire of Izzy Carlson. She will start on Monday. Very excited to have her. I think she comes with a great deal of educational knowledge and experience even, despite her just being a recent graduate of the school. She, I think, will fit in really, really well here, and I'm very excited for the work that she can do and the opportunities that we can have for her to grow and develop in a career with our city. That said, I do want to inform, we do have the holiday of Juneteenth on Thursday, so our offices are closed, so that is the reason for that. Then I am off on this Friday as well. And then the League of Minnesota Cities Conference is next week in Duluth. I will be attending that Wednesday through Friday. So unfortunately limited office time for the rest of the month of June, but after that things get a lot more. So I will be available much more in July, August.
All right. Thank you, John. Laura?
I'm good.
Chris?
I guess I just want to, I know we've already talked about the water thing. I think it deserves more planning, I guess, whether it's in this formal setting or a work session or something. I think we can, I feel like I need to be more educated on it, I guess, to kind of address these questions. Maybe it deserves a fresh look, what our current policy is and all that stuff, And part of those questions, is a user-like tract good for the city, in terms of water bills, wastewater bills, stuff like that. I think questions like that would be, or hey, does this water study, does this help us with these water bills at all? Stuff like that would be very valuable to share. I don't know what that medium would be, but just if we can do a work session on it, or if we don't have a busy council meeting one time, if we could just spend some time on it, educating us, doing a presentation, I think that would be very valuable to the community and myself, I guess. I guess that's what I'm looking for. I don't want to beat a dead horse either. I mean, this is my first year. You've probably, what year are you on, man?
Sixth.
Yeah. So you've probably been through it, but yeah, I hear the complaints. I was one of the complainers when I'm still a resident, obviously, but my bill doubled too. But but part of that too is you see this report. I was looking at it when we were doing our work session. We already have stuff that needs to be upgraded in the next 0 to 5 years, is what it says, or there's a lifespan to that stuff. So we need to keep our balance healthy too. So those are the things I kind of want to suss out if we can, and kind of deliver that message and take a closer look at this. That's all I got.
If I can just, we can absolutely look at that. I think the timing of it fits because we'll be going into that budgetary conversation. I just want to be clear and help everybody, make sure everybody's aware. We planned for this budget year based on the revenues and the rates that were approved last year. So, we're projecting what's going to be used, what's going to be paid for bills, and that's the revenue that on the utility side that is planned for to operate, pay for capital improvements, debt service and whatnot, for those systems. So I just want to emphasize that that's part of this year's revenue plan. Any deviation or change from that certainly needs to be strictly evaluated because it's going to have a very dramatic impact if we're going to change course mid-year. However, talking about budget for 2026, evaluating where our rates are at is certainly a very valid and I would say a timely discussion for how and why we do that to ensure that we are capturing the rates as planned for future energy use. So, and then one other fact I forgot to point out was evaluating the amount of consumption for the entire residential classified meters. There was 947,000 cubic feet of water consumed in May for residentials, and it was 560,000 for April. So across the board, residents in the city use water.
Almost double.
Almost.
I appreciate that. I mean, those are the types of things, when we get to that point and have that conversation, I appreciate it.
Is that number based off of the extra week of reading though?
Yes,
I mean,
it's
if you go from
building
3 to 400 units, another week makes a difference.
All right. Jeff? Dan?
Well, I'll go with Chris on, and I've been saying this for years, and not so much the water bills, but the sewer charges. And I think my concern is because, and number one, May 1st through September 30th doesn't really encompass the watering season anymore. More like April 1st through the end of October. In terms of when we start using our irrigation, we do watering on gardens and that. And that's what I'd really like to explore is how do we, and I know we base, like to charge everybody these fees so that we can get more money for our sewer system. I know our sewer system needs to be upgraded, but at the same time, the water we're using outside does not go towards the system. And so we need to probably figure out if we can better way of doing that.
Lisa?
Don't cut your grass too short, don't let it grow too long and make your neighbors crabby. Have a good week.
Chad?
Yeah, I guess just like everyone, my water bill went up. But if I'm gonna say anything else, I would like to thank the police and the fire and the ambulance. There's incidents this last week with the bike trail. When we're all running inside, they tell us to go away. They just suit up and get ready for whatever gets thrown at them. There's been a lot of movies where guys are in the woods with guns and they don't like cops. And these guys suit up and they're ready to go out there and protect the city. So I just thank them for that.
Thank you, Chad. I would echo those sentiments. So, Chief, thank you for your department and everything that they've been doing to continue to keep our community safe. With that, I would seek a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion from Jepson, second from Diane. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.